The royal palace on Valeria Prime took Taemin's breath away. Buildings grew from the ground like living crystal trees. They pulsed with soft light that changed colors with the time of day. Gardens floated in the air, held up by some technology Taemin did not understand. Everything hummed with a musical frequency that made his bones vibrate gently. Nari pressed against his side as they walked through the main entrance. Hundreds of Valerian citizens lined the halls to see their lost princess return. They stared at Taemin too, the human who brought her back. The whispers followed them like wind. "It is overwhelming," Mirai said quietly, noticing Nari's tension. "We can take the private entrance." "No," Taemin said. "They deserve to see her. She is their princess." Mirai nodded with approval. She led them through the palace slowly, giving Nari time to adjust. The little girl's memories were coming back stronger now. She recognized hallways, doors, faces, but she still held tight to Taemin's hand. They reached Nari's old bedroom. Mirai opened the door carefully. Inside, everything was exactly as it had been 6 months ago. Toys scattered across the floor, books made of light crystals, a bed that looked like it grew from the wall itself, covered in soft moss. Nari stepped inside slowly. She touched things carefully like greeting old friends. Then she saw a stuffed creature on her bed, something like a bear but made of shimmering fabric. Her eyes went wide. "Kuma!" She ran to the bed and grabbed the toy, hugging it tight. Tears ran down her face as she remembered. This had been her favorite toy, the one she slept with every night before the crash. Mirai knelt beside her daughter. "You remember?" "Yes," Nari whispered. "I remember home." Mother and daughter held each other, crying together. Taemin stepped back, giving them privacy. Commander Borum appeared at his side. "Come," she said. "We should let them have this moment." She led Taemin through the palace to his new quarters. The rooms were beautiful but strange. Walls that shifted color, furniture that adjusted its shape when he sat on it, a window that showed not one view but many, rotating through different parts of the palace grounds. "This is too much," Taemin said. "You are guardian father to the crown princess," Borum replied. "These quarters are actually modest for your rank." "I do not care about rank. That is probably why the queen trusts you," Borum said with what might have been a smile. "Most beings who gain power want more. You just want to protect a child. It is refreshing." Over the next weeks, Taemin learned what it meant to be part of a royal family. He had duties: attend council meetings about Nari's education, meet with advisors about human Valerian cultural exchange, stand beside Mirai during public appearances. It was exhausting, but the hardest part was watching Nari struggle. She loved her mother. She loved her home. But being a princess came with expectations. Tutors taught her complicated subjects. Etiquette masters corrected her every movement. Royal duties filled her schedule from morning to night. One evening, Taemin found her crying in the garden. She sat beneath a floating tree, her face buried in her hands. "Nari, what is wrong?" "I am not good enough," she sobbed. "I forget the proper words. I cannot sit still during ceremonies. Everyone says I should be better, that I should remember everything." Taemin sat beside her on the soft grass. "You are 6 years old. You are not supposed to be perfect, but I am a princess." "You are also just Nari," Taemin said gently, "the girl who likes tomatoes, who hums when she is happy, who had nightmares but got through them. Being a princess does not erase that girl." Nari leaned against him. "I miss the farm sometimes. It was quiet." "I miss it too," Taemin admitted. "But we are here because we are a family now. You, me, and Yuriyama. We stick together." "Does Iyama think I am not good enough too? Why don't we ask her?" They found Mirai in her private study reviewing reports. When she saw Nari's tear-stained face, she immediately put everything aside. "What happened?" "She thinks she is failing you," Taemin said. Mirai's expression crumbled. She pulled Nari into her arms. "Oh, my star. You could never fail me. You are alive. You are here. That is all that matters." "But the tutors say—" "The tutors work for me," Mirai interrupted firmly. "And I say you are perfect exactly as you are. Yes, you will learn. Yes, you will grow. But you do not have to be perfect right now." Taemin watched mother and daughter comfort each other. Then Mirai looked at him over Nari's head. Her eyes said thank you without words. That night Mirai made changes. Fewer tutors. More playtime. She even set up a small garden where Nari could grow earth vegetables. Taman taught her to care for tomato plants in Valerian soil. They had to adjust the nutrients, but eventually the plants grew. Months passed. The three of them found their rhythm. Taman taught Nari about human philosophy and art. Mirai taught her Valerian history and leadership. Together they taught her that being different was not weakness but strength. Then one day everything changed again. Commander Borum burst into a family dinner with urgent news. "Your Majesty, we have received a threat. The separatists have regrouped. They know the princess is alive. They are planning another attack." The room went cold. Mirai stood up, her skin blazing with warrior light. "How many ships?" "At least 20. They will be here within days." Taman felt his military training kick in. "What are our defenses?" Borum looked surprised that he asked. "The palace has shields, weapons, but the separatists are well armed. If they breach the shields, then we need to be ready," Taman said. He turned to Mirai. "I was a military engineer." "I can help," Mirai studied him. She had almost forgotten this quiet man who fixed farm equipment had once been a soldier. "What do you suggest?" "Let me see your defense systems. I might see weaknesses your people miss. Human thinking is different from Valerian thinking. Maybe that gives us an advantage." Over the next days, Taman worked with Valerian engineers. He found gaps in their shield coverage, weak points in their response protocols. The Valerians were powerful, but they were predictable. They followed tradition even in warfare. "You need to be unpredictable," Taman explained to Mirai and her war council. "The separatists expect you to protect the palace directly. Instead, make the palace look weak. Draw them in, then hit them from unexpected angles." The Valerian generals looked offended. "You suggest we use deception? That is not honorable." "Honor will not protect Nari," Taman said bluntly. "Smart tactics will." Mirai considered this. Everything in her training said to meet enemies with strength and honor. But Taman was right. Her daughter's life mattered more than tradition. "We do it his way," the queen decided. The generals protested, but Mirai cut them off with a look that could freeze stars. "This human kept my daughter alive when I could not. I will trust his judgment now." When the separatist fleet arrived, they found the palace shields flickering. Weak. They attacked with confidence, thinking victory would be easy. But it was a trap. Hidden weapon platforms activated. Ships that had seemed damaged suddenly came alive. The separatists were surrounded. Taman and Mirai commanded the defense together from the war room. She gave orders in Valerian military tradition. He suggested human tactics. The combination was devastating. Within hours, the separatist fleet retreated broken, but one ship got through. It crashed directly into the palace wing where Nari was supposed to be. Taman's heart stopped. He ran from the war room, Mirai right behind him. They reached Nari's quarters to find it destroyed. Fire burned through crystal walls. Smoke filled the air. "Nari!" Taman shouted. "Appa, Yama!" The voice came from the garden. They ran outside and found Nari safe with Commander Borum. The warrior had gotten the princess out the moment the shields were breached. Taman fell to his knees, pulling Nari into his arms. Mirai collapsed beside them, holding both of them. For a moment, the queen and the mechanic and the princess were just a family, grateful to be alive. That night, after the fires were put out and the danger passed, they sat together in the undamaged gardens. Nari fell asleep between them, exhausted from fear and relief. "We make a good team," Mirai said softly. "We do," Taman agreed. "I never thought I could share being a parent," the queen admitted. "I thought I had to be everything to her. But you showed me that two parents are better than one, even if one of them is a stubborn human who fixes machines." Taman smiled. "And the other is a stubborn alien queen who commands fleets." They sat in comfortable silence, watching Nari sleep. Her skin glowed softly with peaceful dreams. "No nightmares tonight, thank you," Mirai said. "For finding her. For saving her. For being her father when I could not be her mother." "Thank you for letting me stay," Taman replied. "For giving me a family again. I forgot what that felt like." 5 years later, the palace gardens held a celebration. Princess Hana, now 11 years old, stood before gathered crowds of both Valerians and humans. The Human-Valerian alliance had grown strong. Trade flourished. Cultural exchange programs brought thousands of humans to Valerian worlds and vice versa. Nari gave a speech in both Valerian and human languages. She spoke of bridges between worlds, of family that goes beyond blood, of how love can cross any distance, even the stars themselves. Taemin stood on one side of the stage wearing formal robes that still felt strange. Mirai stood on the other side wearing her royal crown. Between them, their daughter spoke of hope and unity. After the speech, Nari ran to both of them. She hugged Taemin first. 3 days passed since the confrontation. Queen Mirai moved her command center to the royal gunship hovering above Taemin's farm. She refused to leave the planet without her daughter, but she also kept her word. She would let Taemin help bridge the gap between mother and child. The first day was difficult. Mirai came to the farmhouse alone, leaving her guards outside. Nari hid behind Taemin the entire time. The queen sat at the kitchen table, watching her daughter peek around corners, studying her like a strange creature. "Tell me about her," Mirai asked Taemin. "Tell me everything." So Taemin did. He talked about how Nari loved earth vegetables, especially tomatoes. How she hummed musical sounds when she was happy. How she had terrible nightmares about fire and darkness. How she learned to laugh again by watching birds in the garden. Every small detail felt precious to Mirai. She had missed so much. "Does she remember anything about home?" Mirai asked quietly. "Sometimes," Taemin admitted. "She draws pictures. Buildings with strange shapes. Lights and patterns. I think they are memories, but she cannot explain them." Mirai's heart ached. Her daughter remembered home but could not name it. On Valeria Prime, our capital world, buildings grow instead of being built. They are alive, made of crystal and light. Hana loved to watch them change colors at sunset. Taemin saw the pain in the queen's eyes. This was not just a ruler missing her heir. This was a mother grieving her child. "Why don't you tell her about it?" he suggested. "Show her your world through your words," so Mirai began to talk. At first, Nari stayed hidden. But slowly, carefully, she crept closer. Something in her mother's voice called to deep memories. The queen spoke of crystal towers and singing gardens, of festivals with dancing lights, of a little girl's bedroom filled with soft glowing moss. By the end of the first day, Nari sat at the table, still close to Taemin, but listening to her mother's stories with wide eyes. The second day, Mirai brought something special, a small crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. "This is a memory stone," she explained. "It was in your room, Hana. You loved it." Nari looked at the crystal with recognition. Slowly, she reached out and touched it. The crystal responded, glowing brighter. Images appeared in the light. A younger Nari laughing and playing in a beautiful garden. A woman who looked like the queen but warmer, smiling, holding the child's hand. Nari gasped. "Iama?" The Valerian word for mother came out without thinking. Mirai's breath caught. "Yes, Iama, I am your Iama." Tears ran down the queen's face. Taemin quietly stood and left them alone in the kitchen, giving them space. He went outside where Commander Borum waited by the door. "Your human customs are strange," Borum said, watching Taemin. "You could have used the princess for leverage, for political gain. Instead, you simply cared for her. Is that strange?" Taemin asked. "Where I come from, protecting children is not political." "It is just right." Borum studied him. "The queen has executed people for far less than taking her daughter. Yet she sits in your kitchen asking you for help. You must understand how unusual this is." "I think she understands that Nari needed saving," Taemin said. "Not just from the crash, but from the fear, the loneliness. Sometimes the bravest thing a leader can do is admit they need help." The warrior woman nodded slowly. "You are wiser than you look, human. Please call me Taemin." "Very well, Taemin." "You may call me Borum." By the third day, Nari was sitting between Taemin and Mirai at the table. She still held Taemin's hand, but she also leaned toward her mother when Mirai spoke. The wall between them was crumbling brick by brick. That evening, Mirai made an announcement. "I must return to Valeria Prime. My duties as queen cannot wait forever. But I will not take Hana by force." Taemin felt relief and worry at the same time. "What are you saying?" "I am saying you should come with us," Mirai stated. "You and Hana together, to the capital." "I have a proposal." "What kind of proposal?" Mirai stood and walked to the window, looking at the stars. "In Valerian culture, we have a tradition. When a child loses their birth parents, another adult can become their guardian parent. It is a sacred bond, recognized by law and tradition." She turned back to face Taemin. "I want you to become Hana's guardian father. Officially. You would live on Valeria Prime. Help her transition back to royal life. Be there when she needs you. and help me learn to be the mother she needs." Taemin was speechless. "You want me to leave Earth? To live on an alien world? I am asking you to be a father to your daughter," Mirai said simply. "Is that not what you already are?" Taemin looked at Nari. She was drawing pictures with crayons he had given her. So innocent, so trusting. She had chosen him. Could he abandon her now? What would this mean exactly? He asked. "You would have a title, a position in the royal household. You would be guardian father to the crown princess. You would teach her about humanity, just as I teach her about being Valerian. She would have both of us. And when she grows up, when she becomes queen," Mirai smiled sadly, "then we hope we raised her well enough to rule better than we did." Do-hyun, who had been listening from the doorway, spoke up. "Taemin, this is bigger than you. This could change everything between humans and Valerians. You could be a bridge between our species." "I do not want to be a bridge," Taemin said honestly. "I just want Nari to be happy." "Then come to Valaria," Mirai urged. "Let her be happy with both her parents. I am offering you something no human has ever had. A place in our royal family, a voice in our court, a chance to show the universe that humans and Valerians can be family." Taemin thought about his quiet life on the farm, the solitude he had chosen after the war, the walls he had built around his heart. Nari had broken through those walls without even trying. She had reminded him what it meant to care about someone more than yourself. He knelt down beside Nari's chair. "Nari, how would you feel about going to a new home? A place with crystal buildings and singing gardens?" Nari looked at him with those big dark eyes. "Will you come?" "If you want me to." "Will Iyama be there?" Yes, Nari thought about this seriously. Then she nodded. "Okay, we go together. You, me, and Iyama." Taemin looked up at Mirai. The queen's face showed hope and fear mixed together. She was offering him an impossible thing, a place in her world, a family that crossed species and stars. "I have conditions," Taemin said. "Name them." "Nari gets to visit Earth whenever she wants. She learns about human culture as well as Valerian. And if she ever wants to leave the royal life, you let her choose her own path." Mirai considered this. As a queen, giving her heir such freedom was dangerous. As a mother, it was necessary. "Agreed. But I have a condition too." "What?" "You teach me," Mirai said softly. "Teach me how you helped her, how you made her smile again, how you became the father I could not be when she needed one most." Taemin saw the genuine pain in the queen's eyes. She was not just a ruler. She was a mother who had failed her child through no fault of her own. She wanted to do better. "Deal," Taemin said, offering his hand. Mirai looked at the human gesture of handshake. Then she clasped his forearm in the Valerian way. Two different customs meeting in the middle. That night, arrangements began. Taemin packed his few belongings. Do-hyun promised to watch over the farm. Word spread through the colony that the quiet mechanic was leaving to become father to an alien princess. Some thought he was crazy. Others called him a hero. Taemin did not care what they called him. He only cared about the little girl who held his hand as they walked up the ramp into the royal gunship. Nari looked back at the farm one last time. Then she looked up at Taemin and Mirai, standing on either side of her. "Ready?" Taemin asked. Nari squeezed both their hands and nodded. They walked into the ship together, toward a future none of them could predict. But for the first time in months, all three of them felt something they had forgotten. Hope. The kitchen went silent. Everyone froze. Queen Mirai stared at the small child hiding behind the human man. Her daughter, alive. But something was wrong. "Very wrong, Hana," Mirai whispered. The word came out broken like glass cutting her throat. The child did not move. She pressed herself closer to the human, her small fingers gripping his shirt tighter. The man, this Taemin, slowly stood up. He kept himself between Nari and the soldiers. His hands were raised, showing he had no weapons, but his body was tense and ready. "Please," Taemin said calmly. "You are scaring her." Commander Borum's weapon snapped up, pointing at Taemin's chest. "Step away from the princess, now." "Borum, lower your weapon," Queen Mirai ordered. Her voice shook. She could not take her eyes off her daughter. "Hana, come to me. It is your mother. I have been searching for you." Nari peeked around Taemin's legs. She looked at the queen with confusion and fear. She shook her head and buried her face against Taemin's back. "Appa," she whimpered. The word hit Mirai like a physical blow. Appa, father. Her daughter was calling this human father. What have you done to her? The queen's skin blazed with bright blue light. Rage and grief twisted together inside her chest. I saved her life, Taman said steadily. 6 months ago, I found her in a crashed escape pod. Her mother died in my arms after placing Nari's hand in mine. I did what I thought was right. I took care of her. Her name is Hana. Mirai's voice rose. She is the crown princess of the Valerian sovereignty. She is my daughter. Right now, she is a scared little girl who does not know you, Taman replied. His voice stayed calm but firm. Look at her. She is terrified, Mirai wanted to scream. She wanted to order her soldiers to take her daughter by force. But Taman was right. Hana was shaking with fear, clinging to this stranger like he was the only solid thing in a storm. You kidnapped her, Mirai accused. You kept her hidden. Why did you not contact us? Why did you not report finding a Valerian child? Because I did not know who to trust, Taman said honestly. I did not know who attacked your ship. I did not know if Nari would be safe. So I kept her safe myself. Before Mirai could respond, the sound of vehicles approached outside. Do-hyun burst through the door with a team of human colonial security. They saw the Valerian soldiers and immediately raised their weapons. The Valerians did the same. Stand down, Do-hyun shouted. This is human territory. This is a matter of royal succession, Commander Borum countered. The room became a powder keg ready to explode. Weapons pointed in every direction. Taman stayed still, protecting Nari with his body. The little girl began to cry, those musical sounds filled with fear. Enough, Queen Mirai's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Everyone stopped. The queen's entire body glowed now, bright enough to hurt human eyes. Everyone lower your weapons. I will not have violence in front of my daughter. Slowly, reluctantly, weapons lowered. Mirai approached Taman carefully like approaching a frightened animal. She could see her daughter's face now, peeking around the human's legs. Hana looked healthy, well-fed. Her skin glowed with proper color. Someone had been taking good care of her. Hana, Mirai said softly, kneeling down to her daughter's level. Do you remember me? Nari looked at her mother's face. Something flickered in her eyes. A memory, maybe. Something deep and old. But then she shook her head and hid again. It broke Mirai's heart into even smaller pieces. How can she not remember me? I am her mother. She was traumatized, Taman explained gently. When I found her, she had nightmares every night for weeks. Her mind protected itself by forgetting, but she is getting better. She smiles now. She plays. She is learning to be happy again. Mirai stood up facing Taman directly. They were nearly the same height. The queen studied this human man carefully. He was not young but not old. His face showed hardness like he had seen difficult things. But his eyes were kind. And the way he stood between her soldiers and Hana showed real courage. Or foolishness. Maybe both. You had no right to keep her, Mirai said. I had no right to let her die alone either, Taman replied. They stared at each other. The tension in the room grew thick enough to cut. Then something unexpected happened. Nari's distress reached a breaking point. Her small body began to glow brighter and brighter. The air around her started to shimmer. Commander Borum's eyes went wide. Your Majesty, she is manifesting. Before anyone could react, light exploded from Nari's body. It was not harmful, but overwhelming. Images flooded into everyone's minds. Memories, not their own. Nari's memories, they all saw it. Felt it, the crash. Waking up scared and alone. A human man with gentle hands cleaning her wounds. Learning to trust. Learning to smile again. Bedtime stories told in a language she did not understand, but in a voice that made her feel safe. Nightmares that faded when the man sat beside her. The moment she chose to call him Appa, every good moment of the past 6 months poured into their minds like water. When the light faded, everyone stood stunned. Mirai fell to her knees. She had felt everything. Every moment of care. Every gentle touch. Every time Taman protected her daughter, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Because he loved her. The queen looked up at Taman with tears streaming down her face. You gave her something I could not give her when she needed it most. You gave her peace. Taman knelt down, bringing himself to Mirai's level. I gave her what any father would give his child. Safety, love, a home. But you are not her father, Mirai said, though the words had less bite now. I am her mother. She belongs with me. She belongs where she feels safe, Tamon corrected gently. Right now that is with me. But that does not mean you cannot be part of her life. Mireille looked at her daughter, still clinging to Tamon. The practical part of her mind knew she could simply order her soldiers to take Hana, force her onto the ship, bring her home. But she had seen the memories. She knew what that would do to her daughter. It would break her again. What do you suggest? The queen asked quietly. Let me help her remember you, Tamon said. Give her time. Let her see that you are safe too. Let her choose to know you again. Mireille wanted to scream that her daughter should not have to choose, but deep down she knew Tamon was right. Forcing Hana would only hurt her more. Doyun, watching this all unfold, slowly lowered his weapon completely. Maybe we should all take a breath, he suggested. Sit down. Talk like reasonable people instead of soldiers. Commander Borum looked at her queen. Mireille nodded slowly. The soldiers began to lower their weapons. The tension eased just a little. Very well, Mireille said, her voice heavy with emotion. We will do this your way for now. But understand this, human. That child is my daughter. She is a princess. She has duties, responsibilities. She cannot stay on this farm forever. I know, Tamon agreed. But for today, can she just be Nari? Can she just be a little girl who needs both of us? Mireille looked at her daughter's scared face one more time. Then she made a decision that went against every royal instinct she had. She would wait. She would let this human help her reconnect with her own child. For today, the queen agreed. Queen Mireille stood on the bridge of her flagship, staring at the endless stars. 6 months had passed since that terrible day. 6 months since her daughter vanished. 6 months since her world shattered into pieces she could not put back together. The Valerian sovereignty stretched across 12 star systems. Billions of beings called her their ruler. She commanded fleets that could burn worlds. Her word was law, but none of that power could bring back her child. Your Majesty, Commander Borum approached carefully. The tall warrior woman had served the queen for 20 years. She knew when to speak and when to stay silent. The council requests your presence. They wish to discuss the succession. Mireille's eyes did not leave the stars. Tell them I will attend when I choose. Yes, Your Majesty. Borum hesitated before leaving. My queen, she would not want you to suffer like this. Mireille finally turned. Her face was beautiful and terrible at once. Her skin, usually glowing with soft blue patterns, was dim and gray. How would you know what my daughter wanted? She was 5 years old. She wanted her mother, and I failed her. The queen's hands gripped the railing so hard it began to bend. I sent her on that diplomatic mission because I thought it would be safe. I thought showing her to our allies would be good for her future. I was wrong. Borum said nothing. What could she say? The attack had come from nowhere. A rival faction called the Separatists had ambushed the diplomatic ship. Only 3 escape pods had launched. 2 were recovered empty. The 3rd was never found. They searched for months. They found nothing but debris and death. Mireille turned back to the window. Leave me. Borum bowed and left the bridge. The queen stood alone, as she had stood every night for 6 months. She barely slept anymore. When she did, she dreamed of her daughter's face. Little Hana. So curious. So bright. So gone. The queen had executed 17 people suspected of helping the Separatists. She had burned their ships and scattered their bases. Revenge tasted like ash. It did not bring Hana back. Nothing would. 2 days later, everything changed. Commander Borum burst onto the bridge. The queen had never seen her loyal warrior run before. Your Majesty, we have found something. Mireille's heart, dead for months, suddenly beat hard. Speak. A scout ship detected a Valerian life signature, a young Valerian, on a human colony world called New Harvest. The bridge went silent. Every officer turned to look at their queen. Mireille could not breathe, could not think. A young Valerian. It could be anyone. Hundreds of Valerian children existed, but her heart knew. Her soul knew. Prepare the fleet. Mireille said quietly. We leave immediately. Your Majesty, the council. I said immediately. The queen's voice echoed like thunder. Blue light blazed across her skin, bright as lightning. If my daughter is alive on that world, I will burn the sky itself to reach her. Within hours, 20 Valerian warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel above New Harvest. The human colony had maybe 50,000 people. They had never seen an alien fleet before. Panic spread quickly. Governor Yun, the colony's leader, received the Queen's message personally. Mirai's face appeared on his screen, cold and commanding. I am Queen Mirai of the Valerian Sovereignty. We have detected one of our children on your world. You will grant us access to search immediately, or we will take it by force. Governor Yun was an experienced man. He had dealt with difficult situations before. But this was different. This was a mother looking for her child with an army at her back. Your Majesty, we welcome your search, but we have strict protocols. If you could provide information about... My daughter is on your world, Mirai interrupted. She has been missing for 6 months. I will find her. Now. The governor wisely did not argue further. He contacted Do Hyun, the head of colonial security. We have a situation. The aliens are looking for a child. Check every household. Check every farm. Find any alien children on this colony right now. Do Hyun, a young man who took his job seriously, began the search immediately. His team spread across the colony, scanning for unusual life signs. Most colonists cooperated. They had nothing to hide. But when Do Hyun's scanner picked up a strange signal near the edge of the colony, he grew suspicious. It came from Taemin's farm. The old mechanic who kept to himself. The one who never caused trouble but never sought company either. Do Hyun drove out to the farm alone first. He wanted to give Taemin a chance to explain before bringing in the full security team. He had always liked the quiet man. When he knocked on the door, it took a long time for Taemin to answer. Do Hyun, Taemin said carefully. What brings you out here? Can I come in? Taemin did not move. I am busy right now. Do Hyun pulled out his scanner. The signal was strong. Taemin, my scanner is picking up something strange inside your house. I need to check it. It is probably just broken equipment. You know I work with all kinds of tech. Taemin. Do Hyun's voice grew serious. The aliens are searching for a child. A young alien. If you know anything, you need to tell me now. Before this gets dangerous. Taemin's face showed nothing. But Do Hyun saw his friend's hand grip the doorframe tighter. I do not know what you are talking about. Behind Taemin, Do Hyun heard a small sound, a musical sound. Not human. The two men stared at each other. Finally, Do Hyun sighed. I have to report this. I am sorry. Taemin closed the door without another word. Do Hyun walked back to his vehicle and made the call. Governor, I think I found something. Taemin's farm. Sending coordinates now. Within the hour, Valerian ships appeared in the sky above Taemin's property. Queen Mirai herself came in the royal gunship, Commander Borum at her side. The Queen's face was tight with hope and fear mixed together. The life signature is inside that structure, Borum reported. It matches the genetic markers of the royal family. Mirai could not speak. After 6 months of grief, 6 months of rage, 6 months of emptiness, her daughter might be just beyond those walls. Alive. She wanted to run inside, to tear the building apart. But she was a queen. She had to be careful. Surround the structure, she ordered. But do not harm anyone inside. My daughter may be there. Soldiers moved quickly and silently. They took positions around the farmhouse, weapons ready but not raised. The sun was rising, painting the sky pink and gold. Inside the house, Taemin heard the sounds of movement outside. He knew what was coming. He found Nari in her room, playing with wooden toys he had carved for her. She looked up at him with those big dark eyes. Appa? Taemin knelt down beside her. Nari, listen carefully. Some people are coming. They might be looking for you. Do not be afraid. I will not let anyone hurt you. Nari tilted her head, not fully understanding but trusting him completely. She took his hand. Outside, Queen Mirai gave the signal. Move in, Carefully, the door burst open. Valerian soldiers poured inside, weapons scanning every corner. They moved through the house quickly until they found the kitchen. There, sitting, at a simple wooden table was a human man and a small Valerian child. They were eating breakfast together. The child looked up at the soldiers. Her eyes went wide with fear. She jumped from her chair and ran behind the human, grabbing his shirt. "Appa!" she cried. Commander Borum stopped in her tracks. Behind her, Queen Mirai stepped into the room. The queen's eyes locked onto the child. It was Hana, her daughter, alive, real, right there. But the child was hiding behind a human, calling him father. Mirai's world tilted sideways. This could not be real. The rain hammered down on the metal roof of Taemin's workshop like angry fists. He wiped the grease from his hands and looked out the window at the dark sky. Lightning split the clouds apart, turning night into day for just a second. Thunder followed, shaking the walls of his small farm. Taemin lived alone on the edge of the human colony called New Harvest. He liked it that way. After leaving the military 5 years ago, he wanted nothing more than silence and space. His farm was simple. He grew vegetables, fixed broken machines for the colonists, and kept to himself. Most people in the colony thought he was strange, but they left him alone. He was about to close the workshop door when he saw it. A streak of fire across the sky, different from the lightning. Something was falling. Something was burning. The object crashed into the hillside about half a mile from his property. The impact shook the ground beneath his feet. Taemin stood frozen for a moment. His military training told him to report it. Call the colonial security. Let them handle it. But something else, something deeper, made him grab his emergency kit and run toward the crash site. The rain soaked through his jacket in seconds. Mud sucked at his boots as he climbed the hill. When he reached the top, he saw it. A small pod no bigger than a car half buried in the dirt. Metal panels were bent and twisted. Smoke poured from cracks in the hull. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the side. Taemin approached carefully. This was alien technology. He had seen some during the war, but never this close. Never alone. He found a hatch and pulled at it. The metal was hot, burning his palms even through his gloves. He pulled harder. The hatch gave way with a hiss of escaping air. Inside, the pod was dark except for flickering emergency lights. 2 figures lay strapped into seats. One was large, an adult. The other was small, child-sized. Both had smooth skin that shimmered with faint blue patterns. They were not human. The adult female's eyes opened slowly. They were large and dark, like pools of deep water. She looked at Taemin and tried to speak. Strange sounds came from her mouth, musical but urgent. Dark purple blood covered her chest. She was dying. Taemin reached for his medical kit, but she grabbed his hand with surprising strength. She pulled him closer to the small figure beside her. The child. The woman placed the child's small hand into Taemin's larger one. Her skin pulsed with blue light, the patterns dancing like waves. She was trying to tell him something, asking him something, then her eyes closed. The light in her skin faded. She was gone. Taemin sat there in shock, rain pouring through the broken hatch. He looked down at the child. She was still breathing. Her chest rose and fell slowly. She had the same smooth skin as the adult, the same delicate features. She looked like she was maybe 4 or 5 years old, if human years meant anything. He had to make a choice. Report this to colonial security. Let the military take the child for study, or take her himself. Hide her, protect her. The woman's dying wish had been clear, even without words. She wanted him to care for her child. Taemin carefully unstrapped the little girl from her seat. She was light, so light. He wrapped her in his jacket and carried her down the hill toward his farm. Behind him, the pod's emergency lights finally went dark. Back at the farmhouse, Taemin laid the child on his bed. He had no idea how to care for an alien, but he knew wounds when he saw them. She had cuts on her arms and legs. He cleaned them carefully with water, hoping it would not hurt her. Her skin felt cool and smooth, like polished stone. The child slept for 3 days. Taemin stayed close, checking on her every few hours. He kept the doors locked and the curtains closed. If anyone saw her, they would take her away. He was already breaking about a dozen colonial laws. On the 4th day, she woke up. Her large dark eyes opened and stared at him. She did not cry. She did not scream. She just watched him with an intelligence that seemed too old for such a small face. Taman smiled gently and offered her water. She drank it slowly. Communication was impossible at first. She spoke in musical tones that Taman could not understand. He spoke in Korean and English, but she only tilted her head in confusion. So they learned together in silence. He showed her things: food, water, safety. She watched and learned quickly. He decided to call her Nari. It meant lily in Korean, a flower his mother had loved. The name seemed to fit her delicate appearance. Whether she understood it was her name or just a sound he made, she eventually responded to it. Weeks passed. Nari began to explore the farmhouse. She was curious about everything. She watched Taman cook with wide eyes. She followed him around the workshop, touching tools carefully. At night, she had terrible nightmares. She would wake up crying. Those musical sounds filled with fear. Taman would sit beside her, not touching, just being there until she fell back asleep. One evening, Taman was looking at an old photograph. It showed him as a boy with his father. They were smiling, standing in front of the old family farm back on Earth. Appa, Taman whispered, the Korean word for father heavy with memory. His own father had died years ago. Nari, sitting across the room, looked up. She pointed at Taman and repeated the sound. Appa, Taman shook his head. No, I'm not. But she said it again, with more confidence this time. Appa. She came over and took his hand, the same way her dying mother had placed it there weeks ago. Something broke inside Taman's chest. Something that had been frozen since the war. He looked down at this small alien child who had lost everything. Just as he had lost everything once. She was choosing him. Trusting him, okay, he whispered. Appa. Nari smiled for the first time since waking up. It was a beautiful smile that made her skin glow faintly with blue light. In that moment, Taman stopped thinking about what he should do according to the law. He only knew what he must do as a man. He would protect this child. He would be the father she needed. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. Somewhere up there, someone was probably looking for Nari. But for now, she was safe. She was home. And Taman was no longer alone.